Hello everyone and welcome to another Conan Exiles video. I'm Exiled Phoenix, and this is a guide to some of the changes in Chapter 3 of Age of War. Now the first thing we're going to showcase from this new chapter is this new siegeable, raidable fortress. But really all you have to do to get into it is jump over to here, jump to this rock, obviously I'm in ghost mode, then you climb up here, you can climb right past most of the sand climb. Jump down in here, and you've got some bombs on this cart here. You can pick these up if you want. Go in here, there's a battering ram. And right inside here, there is a Musashi's Blackblade, which, as a side note, is really OP for anyone starting on a server. There's also another battering ram back here in the back if you want one. And I believe there's a third one somewhere. I have not found it. Not spent too much time looking, really. But yeah, once you've grabbed that Musashi's Blackblade, you can pretty much just climb right up here. Maybe. And if you really want to skip through most of this, you can pretty much just climb right up here. Yep. And this is the wall here that you want to hit with the battering ram. And this will skip right to the final boss. It'll take about 12 hits to break this wall. And that's it, you're in. If you really want to skip to the end, that's how you do it. And the cool thing is, each of these coin piles is like quite a bit of gold. Most of the time you get 1,000 per pile. And I guess there are also random recipes laying around inside this castle as well, so you might want to look for those. I think there's one in this room. Ah, yeah, here it is. But yeah, I guess the recipes you find here are the same ones that you get in an unnamed city from the archives. Honestly, I think it's a pretty cool castle. It doesn't seem too laggy here, but then again, this is single player. I think it would be a pretty cool experience to actually try to siege this, going through the main doors and stuff, because there are a lot of people here, and there's snakes and all kinds of stuff that you'll have to fight. So it'd be a pretty cool experience, I'm sure. Alright, so the next thing on the list to talk about, and this I feel like has a lot of potential, is the bar, like tavern system. So once you get a barkeeper, which is pretty easy to do, we just did a tier 2 purge on one of my servers and got one immediately. Then apparently NPCs and stuff will start flocking to any chairs you have placed nearby, and what we discovered was that the chairs don't even have to be necessarily that close to the tavern, and NPCs will spawn there, and they can be named NPCs like Delencia or Janos or whatever. And you can hire them for a set number of gold. I think it was like 500 gold coins for a named and like 10 gold coins for a tier 1, so it wasn't bad at all. So there's a lot of potential for getting thralls here without actually having to go out and hunt for them. I don't believe there are any crafters, I think they're all fighters. But this setup I've had here on single player, and so far it has not spawned anything, probably because whenever I log off of this, it's like the server has shut down permanently, so there's not going to be any simulation going on. And I'd probably have to sit here logged in for a long time to actually get anything to happen. And then also, if you freed that Iskar guy, the sellsword, he will be in this enlist contacts menu, and you'll be able to hire him, talk to him or whatever, and buy things from him inside your own base instead of actually having to go do a purge to talk to him and buy that stuff that he has to offer. You can also buy different drinks from the barkeeper, and actually food as well, which is kind of cool. So you essentially have an infinite source of food in your base as long as you have gold coins. The third thing I wanted to talk about was the Jebel Sog token crafting. I heard rumors that you were not able to actually craft the token, but on single player at least, you are definitely still able to craft the token. I had just heard rumors that the token was no longer craftable because, you know, the gods still being invincible and all that. But yeah, it is definitely still craftable, at least on single player. I've not tested this on an official server, so don't quote me on this one, but just doing what I can do at the moment. Alright, now number 4 on the list are fluid presses. They have been buffed apparently, so let's see what they're doing now as far as making us oil. So 15 seeds makes 2 oil, it looks like. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 30 seeds would make 1 oil before, or maybe it was 15 seeds would make 1 oil. But yeah, now you get 2 at a time from every 15 seeds, that's actually pretty dang good. Not that it's really going to outdo your alchemist for crafting oil, but it's still better than nothing, especially when you're low level and don't have an alchemist yet. Alright, let's see what human flesh does now. Alright, human flesh only appears to be a 1-to-1 conversion to blood still, but I'm sure there are plenty of other items that you can put in here that have been buffed as well. Number 5 on the list, the vendors at Mech-Camosa's Spire still have not been fixed, so they are not available at this time, at least not on single player. I have not actually checked on an official server to make sure. It wouldn't be the first time there was an inconsistency between single player and the official servers, but as far as single player goes, they are still gone from this area, and they're just like regular fighter NPCs. Number 6 on the list is the spear nerf. Okay, now they have not only reduced the speed of the first heavy attack, but they also seem to have removed some of your ability to pivot as you attack. You can still do it a little bit, but I don't think it's quite as strong as it used to be. And they have added new animations for some of the spears. These spears labeled sweeping now have a completely new attack pattern. So the light attacks look like this. That's your combo. Pretty interesting. Now, it's Casey mentioned in his video that the light attack on this, the first light attack, is actually very similar to the old heavy attack on the regular spears. So that might be the new thing. I'm not sure, but this War Spear of the Black Circle is the strongest one of these spears, and it's only 56 damage, which is pretty crap. But who knows? It could be viable. And then your heavy attack combo looks like this, which is pretty interesting. This final attack actually does pretty much sweep everything around you, which is kind of cool if you're in a mob of enemies. Let's say you're just at Black Galleon farming Zeal, or you know, you got a bunch of enemies around you. I have not tested the hyper armor much on it. I assume since the hyper armor nerf, it probably doesn't do too well if you get interrupted. I'm not a huge fan of the sweeping pattern, but it could be helpful against multiple enemies, and is definitely worth trying out. And that brings us to our 7th point for today. Your ability to turn around while you're mid-combo has been greatly diminished. So no matter what kind of weapon you got, it's a little bit harder to like just turn around in your mid-combo. So I don't know if you remember, but like with a spear you used to be able to just stab one direction and turn around and hit the exact opposite direction like instantly. But now it's much more slow of like a turnaround. So your ability to turn around as you're comboing has been slowed down. And in Whack4863's recent video, he pointed out that on PC you used to be able to just kind of point your cursor, like your mouse, whichever direction you want it to poke, and your character would attack that direction. But now you actually have to use the keyboard keys to actually face your character in that direction. That's pretty much the same thing as we've been doing on PlayStation all along, so not much is really changing on PlayStation, but apparently, I'm not sure if it has to do with auto-facing or something like that. It is apparently quite different on PC now. And so, like he said, it seems like Funcom's kind of trying to make you relearn a completely new combat system, at least for PC users, which is kind of odd, to say the least. But hopefully, whatever issues there are there will be reverted. As far as my thoughts on the pike nerfs, I think that the pike is still going to be viable in PvP. I don't think they needed to slow down the pike and remove most of the pivot, but it does seem like you still have a little bit of pivot. It just, you know, it's only early on that you've got it. But I think the nerf is definitely just a bit excessive, because now there's not really a lot that you can do against someone who just wants to run away and roll spam. Before, you had the pike, which was pretty fast. It was fast enough that they couldn't easily predict it and roll it, but now pretty much every other weapon, including the pike, is slow enough that someone can literally just roll spam it. And if someone wants to just run away or run around and place bombs or just try to be a pain in the butt, there's not really a lot to counter it anymore. For those of you that think rolling thrust getting nerfed is a good idea, it absolutely is not. The reason for that is because rolling thrust getting nerfed does not remove the roll spam problem in this game. Basically, anyone can just roll spam to get away from you. Anyone who wants to run away is going to be able to get away without any problem. And the only thing really countering that is rolling thrust. That's the only way you're catching up to that person to actually take them out. If you want to see in PvP a lot of people just running in their fobs and getting away and healing, and nobody ever really being able to kill each other, then yeah, go ahead and nerf rolling thrust. But you know, it is not going to be a good thing. Rolling thrust is literally the only thing at this point, especially with the pike being slowed down, it's the only thing that's really allowing you to keep up with someone who's just roll spamming to get away from you. Honestly, the answer to all these issues, like the pike being overpowered and the whole roll, poke, lock-on, spam meta, the answer to that is literally just to bring back the old stamina system. Like, it would fix everything. They would not have needed to nerf the pike, they would not have needed to change any of the other mechanics. Just remove the attack pivot and bring back the old stamina. That's really all that needs to happen. Now, I do like the attack pivot, but again, it was pretty overpowered, especially with the pike. And the infinite stamina limits you to certain weapons you can use in PvP. So, there's really no good answer for this meta, other than to just revert the stamina back to the way it was. But anyway, in the next few weeks I will definitely be testing this out in PvP, seeing how the pike actually does, if it's still viable. I might definitely be messing around more with one-handed weapons, because I think with the attack pivot, sprint attacks with the one-handed weapons are going to be pretty viable. And especially because they double as a water weapon, I think they might start coming back. Throwing axes might even start becoming a thing again. I don't know. We will see. Because before, literally all everybody would use was a pike. Now that they've been nerfed a little bit, maybe it'll open up options for something else as well. If you enjoyed this video and learned something from it, don't forget to leave a like, and leave a comment down below letting me know what you think about this update yourself, and if there are any things that you would do to change this update. Also, a special thanks to all my members. You guys are the absolute best. If you would like to become a member, there is a join button down below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.